Last night on our campus, we had this semester's first distinguished lecture series on K-pop dance. For any of you who had to miss the event and the lecture, Dr. Chuyun has kindly agreed to join me with this interview. So, Dr. Oh, thank you so much for joining me with an interview today. Thank you so much for your highly educative and engaging lecture last night. So for any audience who had to miss your lecture but will possibly see this interview, can you talk a little bit about your academic background, professional background, and your book, and how and why you get to write this book?
Yes, thank you for having me. And before we get started, I'd like to express my gratitude to WT faculty in Art, Theater, Dance, and Communication Studies, including Dr. Drumheller, Dr. Kinski, Professor Medlock, and also Dr. Han for organizing this exciting event.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
So I started my classical ballet training when I was 7 years old. And thanks to the generous support of my family as well as parents, I was able to pursue my career later as an academic. So as of now, I'm an associate professor of dance theory at San Diego State University. And I published a book titled K-pop Dance, Fandoming Yourself on Social Media. That became the first book on this topic. And I explain the evolution of K-pop dance since the 1980s and why it matters to our society, especially the unprecedented scale of K-pop dance fandom. Would you remind me the last part of the question?
How and why you get to write this book?
Right.
You might have already answered this, but.
So the reason I got into this project is that, first of all, I was able to meet such a talented, passionate young dancers, mostly K-pop cover dancers. When I started, I actually wrote my dissertation at UT Austin focusing on K-pop choreography. And back then, there wasn't many research about K-pop choreography as a dance genre, although there was already abundance of research in Korean wave, Korean pop culture, and also Korean K-pop music. So I wanted to share all those talented young dancers' experiences in the field. And I also saw a big potential in K-pop dance fandom. And I think in addition to the skillful techniques of K-pop idols, I think the K-pop dance fandom is as important as whenever we say K-pop dance.
Yeah, well, thank you. It might just go back to, that story a little bit, but you might have kept hearing this question a lot, First of all, what is K-pop? Can you tell us a little bit of, can you give us a little bit snapshot of K-pop as a music or performance genre?
Sure. So K-pop is a South Korean pop music. South Korea has very rich tradition of music and dance, but the idea of K-pop and its style, including choreography, started emerging around the 1990s. So I grew up listening to and watching the first generation of K-pop idols. I think what makes K-pop music and dance unique is, first of all, its open style. As maybe I will be able to elaborate further later, there's a lot of international collaboration when we see K-pop dance and music. So if a student, let's say, is interested in K-pop, through K-pop dance and music, they will be able to enjoy a wide range of styles. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. What intrigued me in your book and the last night talk is about this notion of stage. You talked the social media as a stage of performance. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I theorized what I referred to as social media dance by drawing example from K-pop. When I say social media dance, it not only includes K-pop, but also a wide range of performances on social media from Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and many of the styles become shorter and shorter and shorter.
Right.
So maybe as of today, you do have a video that is only 5 seconds,
True.
but have tremendous amount of views. And it works because it's short. And also the mechanism is repeating itself. The video will be repeated itself. So the shorter it is, the more view it will get. So that is one of the mechanisms.
Yeah.
So social media dance refers to, first of all, the ways we understand social media as a stage. So in my book, for example, I compare the evolution of dance from the theater, movie cinema, television, laptop, and up to smartphone. So the stage that used to be as big as a stadium becomes smaller, smaller, smaller. And all this stage setting dramatically shifted the ways we are consuming dance and also the dancing body. That include relationship between dancers and sponsors, because a lot of social media dancers do not necessarily rely on so-called gatekeepers, because they have audiences, global audiences on the internet. Another characteristics that I also theorize is the gestural point choreography that has a lot of emphasis on the detailed, delicate facial expression, including hair and all the delicate movement of the fingers that is sort of decorating the facial area. So I think it speaks to the emergence of dancers on social media, because there's so many influencers who are also dancers, but not necessarily have a degree in dance from university, for example.
Right.
Yeah, but they are using dance and movement as a way of promoting themselves and also sharing their charm. So I think it's really exciting to see how young people utilize dance that include the facial dance to express themselves.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I think that that you provided a really good transition from the dance in the practical way to a little bit more academic talk that I would like to do with you. Is that so you have a career as a competitive dancer, then obtain a PhD degree in performance studies. Could you talk to us a little bit about the process of transferring that on-stage performances to into academic theories?
Right. I think that's a really great question, because I feel like I'm not the only one who struggles to translate our artistic experiences to academia. That means paper. And I also heard that Dr. Han also had an experience as a musician. And so I look forward to seeing your publication, integrating writing and also artistic experience. I think the first challenge was how to translate our embodied experience. That means something that we experience through the body. So our body remember it, but sometimes it's really hard to explain verbally. And it needs time. We have to practice the writing, because all our gut feeling, let's say, because art is about emotion and also the styles. And sometimes we do not know why we like it. And because that's the core experience in art reception. So writing was the first issue, but as I graduated from UT Austin, I had such a great faculty who gave me all the detailed feedback in almost every single draft. So all those little effort, step by step, makes a difference at the end. And then the second thing that I like to share with all the practitioners is that we need to believe in ourselves in a way that our experiences matter, like truly matter. And a lot of our embodied and live experiences, like I said, it's really hard to explain why it's important, but we know deep inside of our heart that it is important. And I'm pretty sure that the society is changing, but still we have a little bit of perception that maybe, let's say, dance is not fully an academic field because there's a lot of like a physical performance. But because it is using the body and movement and such an essential part of our life, and therefore it is important. A student of mine told me that, so she believes in dancing because there's, whatever city you go, there's a dance club. So people never stop dancing. And even during the wartime, people even dance in order to express their feeling, overcome trauma. And a lot of people actually in dance history kept their identity through dance, including those who were colonized. When there was a censorship, oppression, people utilized dance and music to keep their soul alive. So I think it's really important that we believe in our gut feeling so that we value our voices and therefore we have the power to share it.
Thank you. It's so fantastic. You talk about this, the value of bodily experience. So it's a little bit personal side of me, but I specialize in contemporary rhetorical theory and criticism. And what I mean by contemporary is that I approach rhetoric as not just words, but it's a process of symbolic action, and so that can include non-discursive means such as the visuals, music, and body, and even place and space, just like we talked about. So I would like to hear, when it comes to, if I can quote, say this rhetorical power, if I can name this way, of K-pop. Where do you think this persuasive power comes from? So examples that I'm thinking about is that, certainly lyrics are mainly Korean, a lot of English, right? But at the same time, many fans just listen or mimic, not without knowing the content of lyrics. Or also, I think what's really unique about Korean K-pop fandom is that it's networked audience. In rhetoric, we call, the digital rhetoric. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is that where do you think this all, the power of the K-pop come from?
Right, that's an excellent question. I think what makes K-pop dance fandom really unique is that it actually goes beyond the digital network. For example, there's tons of K-pop dance videos, including public dance challenge or K-pop challenge, and also tutorial videos. But a lot of dancers do not just stay behind the camera. They also go and perform on the street. Many of the K-pop fans eventually literally go to Korea and get a job. So and I think all those ambition, and it needs a courage. Like you grew up listening to K-pop music and you're dreaming to get a job in South Korea, even if you have no network in South Korea. So I think the power of the K-pop fandom include how it actually create mobility in reality. So I'm not saying that digital is not reality, but it is a virtual There's a lot of virtual aspect. And another idea that I like to share is that the K-pop becomes really persuasive and a strong statement. Of course, because of the diversity, the implications about diversity. As I wrote in my book, of course, it's kind of interesting because K-pop is a mainstream genre. It's like a mainstream genre, and it has really almost a strict level of format. But interestingly, because it has really clear formula, it allows a lot of fan and non-dancers and young people to start dancing using the formula, right? So it's an irony, but it actually boosts the adaptation of K-pop dance across the globe. And another idea is that when we say being persuasive, it of course includes rhetoric, but we are also persuaded by the visual and also emotion. That is not necessarily relying on a text, because text has relatively has more fixed meaning.
Right.
But if you look at K-pop music video, and let's say we have 100 audiences, we will likely have 100 different types of interpretation, because it's music and dance, it's non-verbal. So I think K-pop is giving very interesting tool to sort of play with. And throughout that process, as I wrote in my book, K-pop fans find a way of fandoming themselves, using the makeup, passion, imitating the lyrics like musical actors and actresses, and also trying new trendy choreographies based on music video release almost every week. So yeah, I think that's one of the persuasive powers of K-pop.
That is wonderful. Mobility and applicability. And then a lot comes from the visual aspect. That is a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. Finally, you came all the way from California. What were your impression of WT students and overall your experience being here, DLS series, and can you share any message to WT students?
Yes, I have a lot to share. First of all, I'm really grateful that you guys really have some of the best people. And also the students, including WTK, as well as dance majors, and also the audiences, all the questions they asked was so inspirational. And as I already shared with some of the students came to my talk, I think they are such a polite and very kind and also self-motivated. And I think that is something really important because we keep growing, we keep learning, but we need to be self-motivated in order to start the learning. So what I wanted to say to some of the dancers I met, if you are in California, you'd be already a rock star.
That's what she said yesterday.
And another thing is that K-pop is already really popular in California. Some of the K-pop dance team in Southern California in a university, sometimes they have like 80 students gathering every week. So it's been really special experience to me, not only because I graduated from UT Austin, taco, and also Tex-Mex is one of my favorite food, but also being able to meet audiences in Texas. And I think it also shows how the young people become even more open-minded, embracing the global the trend and all the different types of music and dance. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You talked about all the elements that make me feel so proud of MWT and my work here rewarding. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you have a great, safe trip back to California.
Thank you.
Thank you.